ActiveCampaign Tutorial for Beginners. Today, I'm going to go over why I believe ActiveCampaign is the #1 email marketing software on the planet. Also, a step-by-step guide. Things we're going to go over are logging in, signing up. We're going to go over contacts, importing. We're going to go through forms, how to capture emails. We're going to go through automations, like what is a trigger? How do we wait? How do we sort leads? And then, of course, how do we end automations? So without further ado, let's get into it. And as always, I would appreciate a subscribe, like, whatever you got to do. Throw in the comments exactly what you want to see, what automations you want me to do, and I will hopefully make them an episode one day. So here we go, sharing my screen. All right, from the beginning, here we go. We're going to go into ActiveCampaign. As you can see, I haven't even started. Once we get into here, we're going to actually try for free. So I'm just going to put my email in here. And we're going to sign up. All right. As you can see, it's just going to ask us some basic questions. I might have to blur out my phone number here. All right. And this is just information gathering. So under 500, how many employees? Let's just say I'm solo. What industry? Let's just call this software. Okay. And then what are we currently using? Let's just see if I can skip. Perfect. So let's just set a password. Take me to my account. Let's do it. All right, boom. We are in. Now, we're going to be getting hit with the Black Friday deals here. Cool. So from the top, we have a search function. And we have the getting started. So I would obviously, go through, make sure you verify your domain, provide your mailing address. This is very important. So let's go ahead and get this done. So Mike at Social Solutions, that's who I am. I'm going to open up my email on the other screen here. And I'm just going to verify my domain. And then I click verify. And we're good. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to add an address. So my company is called Social Aim Solutions Limited. And this is pretty much exactly right. We're going to add that. Oh, hold on. We're going to select the country. Perfect. Oops, why is that not working? Let's just scroll down and manually select it. And there we are. British Columbia. Perfect. If anyone wants to send me something, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to end here on this screen. I'm just going to go down the left-hand side. So contacts, we got campaigns, we got automations, deals. We won't be going over deals because I don't use this as a CRM. Conversations, I don't use it as a CRM as well. We're going to be getting into lists. Don't need to get into sites and reporting. Obviously, I won't be getting into that. We're just going to be doing the very basics today. So starting at the top, we're going to go into contacts. So it adds you as a contact right away. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is obviously import your leads. Now, whether you got your leads from doing your own outreach and you have your own email list, say you were using MailChimp before, say, for example, you have like a Google Sheet CRM that you've been using and you have a bunch of people's emails, however you want to do it. Now, importing them, you could do it one by one, but the easiest way to do this is import, okay? Perfect. So you can import a number of different softwares, but the easiest one to do is import from a file. So you're going to need a CSV file, and that's a comma separated value, Google Sheets, or what do you call it? Excel, sorry. So I just made this test here quick. And upgrade, import more contacts. All right, so just import to my, so for purpose, I'm just going to import what I can. I'm not going to import 100+ contacts. So the first thing after you get your sheet imported, or where you initiate importing it, it's going to ask you to map the fields. So step one is going to be mapping, right? So map into your field. You have contact, email, title, and then a contact company. All right. So if we actually go take a look at this Google Sheet or this Excel sheet, let me just bring it up quick. Here it is. So this is just a sheet I pulled off the internet quick for testing purposes. I was able to get some real estate agents' emails. All right, so obviously a bunch of them are realtors. They have a whole bunch of emails. Here's their names and here's their company. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to map those inside of ActiveCampaign. So the first step is going to be the name. So because it gives us both first name and last name in one field, we're just going to use the first and last. Otherwise, if you had the names separated, you'd pick first name and then last name. Email address is already mapped. They did that. Title, you could hit job title if you'd like to. And then the company, let's just see if that comes up. No. Now, if you wanted to add their company in there, you could add a new field and call it a text input. And then you would just call this company. And what it's going to do is allow you to use that information later on down the road. So let's just see. Now it's mapped, right? So now we can come in and hit company. Cool. So right now we only have one list, and that's the master contact list. Now, if you wanted to segregate your emails into different lists, so you could email, maybe you have a newsletter list, maybe you have they booked a call list, maybe you have just opt-in list, whatever it might be, you can make lists like that, right? You can add a tag if you'd wish. So you could add something like realtors. And then when you import it, we want to import them as an active client. Okay. So you could import them as like unsubscribe, or it's not really necessary getting into this. So I always hit this button by default, just update the existing context while importing. It just means if they find someone else inside the software, that it's going to update them whatever information they don't have. So for example, if the phone number is different, or if the email was different, or the last name was different, it would update it for you. And then down here, import, we're going to hit import and give that a sec. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit contacts and refresh. It's going to obviously do this in the background for me, and we should be able to see the contacts being added as we go. Okay. So now we've successfully imported contacts. Now this is going to constantly update. If I hit refresh, it should be higher than 18. There we go. We're at 85, right? Cool. So let's get into the next step. So the next step would be lists. So I already kind of explained lists down here, third from the bottom. Now, for example, say, for example, you wanted to create a list for people that booked an appointment. Maybe you're going to use Calendly, and for everyone that books an appointment on your Calendly, you're going to put them into ActiveCampaign so you can then later retarget them with an email. So you can create a list like that and hit add. Now, the one thing to note is when you do this, it's actually going to ask you things like this, right? So it's going to say the list name, right? What is the URL they're coming from? So if it's like from Calendly or if it's from your website, you're going to want to make sure this is accurate. And then you're going to want to tell your list, why are they receiving this email, right? You are receiving these emails because you were subscribed to our updates, right? So you could say something like you booked an appointment with, such and such company. Okay, so that's how you create a list. That's how you edit them. There's nothing really more that you can do from here, beginner-wise, that we're going to really touch into. The next thing is we need to put emails into these lists. So other than doing just a regular import, we want to create like a form. So let's just double check and see. Okay, so to get to forms on the left-hand side here, second from the bottom, we're going to go to site and we're going to come into forms here. Okay, so obviously we don't have any forms as we just started. So we're going to hit up to the create a form. We're going to call this like, let's just hypothetically say we're going to put this on our website. Oops. So hypothetically, let's just say we're going to put this on our website. So we're going to do like an inline form. So what's going to happen? This is a very important step right here. So when they subscribe or when they fill out this form, we want to subscribe them to a list. We want to add them to a deal, add a tag, or do we want to put them on a list? So I always say, let's add them to a list. Now we can add them to the master contact list, or what we could do is the same thing we did before is we can come into lists. Okay, we can add a list and we can call this, say, website opt-ins. Okay, let's just say our website was www.business.com. And then we can just say you are receiving. Oops, I always get this wrong. You're receiving this email because you subscribed to updates. Okay. And my spelling is terrible. So we're going to hit add. We're going to come back to site. Okay. We're going to hit the forms. Okay. And we're going to create a form again. Let's call this the website opt-ins. Okay. Inline form, subscribe to a list. We're going to put them on the website opt-ins and we're going to hit create. All right. And the builder will show up shortly here. Here we are. Subscribe for email updates. So imagine this is you're getting email updates, or subscribe for a lead magnet. So subscribe for free course on XYZ. Okay, so I'm just coming up with anything spectacular, but this is kind of what you're going to be embedding on your website. You want to grab like a full name and an email address. I always like to make everything required, right? I really like to have that name so I can use like, hey, first name inside of my emails, right? So here you're going to want to like obviously add in a descriptive message, something like you will receive the course shortly after submitting your email, something like that, right? Now you can obviously come up with something a lot more elaborate than I did. And then obviously in order to get rid of like branding and whatnot, then you think you have to subscribe, right? So let's figure this out. So we are now pretty much done here. So we're going to go to style. We can change like the background if we want to. We can create different colors, whatever we want to. The font color, right? We can change the font color if we felt like it. Borders, buttons, right? I always, dislike I always like a kind of like a green. I've always liked green buttons and stuff like that, or even blue buttons a little bit more. You can also make them bigger. So the next part is options. So on submit, we want to obviously just show thank you for signing up kind of thing. You can put your own little message that would obviously look like this, right? You can redirect them to like a thank you page if you have one, or, whatever you really felt like. Obviously, we already set the form action at the beginning. We're going to subscribe them to a list called website opt-ins. We can even do more if we wanted to. We could actually, add a tag as well, and we could call this website opt-ins, right? Just be a little bit more redundant if we want to. Okay, and then we're going to hit integrate. So now what we can do is we can embed this into your website, a full embed or just a simple embed. You can hand out a link, right? And then we can actually go to this link, and then here we are. We can opt in. If we felt like it, we can actually put this on our WordPress. So if we wanted to download the plugin, you could just use this embed as well if you wanted to. And then Facebook, I believe you can put this in there as well. But today we're just going to leave it at that. We're just going to have this link. Someone can fill out this link, and then they're good to go. Cool. So now once you have this list, once you have emails actually coming in, the next most important thing, in my opinion, would be campaigns on the left-hand side here. Okay. So when you get into campaigns is where you're going to kind of send one of emails. You're going to manually come in and you're going to send a campaign. Okay. So we're going to hit create our first campaign. We're going to call this my first campaign. We're going to hit standard email. Okay. We're just going to kind of keep this very simple right now. We're going to hit next. Okay. We're going to subscribe everyone to, or we're going to send this email to everyone. Okay. Hypothetically, we're going to hit next. Okay, here we go. So now it gives you a bunch of templates, a couple cool email templates that you can use, things that have worked in the past, whatever you want. Let's just hit this birthday. Okay, this is now very important. So we want to put your first name here. So what is going to show up as the sender? So you obviously want to put your full name. If you want to, you can actually make it come from one email address, and then you could basically put support@socialaimsolutions.com. So that replies don't actually clog up your main inbox, if that makes sense, right? And then subject line, my first campaign. We're going to hit continue. All right, and here we are. So cool thing is you don't have to use any of this if you don't really want to. You can put your logo up here. I always end up putting like a nice banner here. So I'll generally just get rid of this at the top. And I'll keep like a nice banner here, something like creative, like with myself, maybe some words or something like that says like, Social Aim Solutions or whatever it might be. You can start off your email with like, happy birthday, whatever you want. And when you come into your body of your email, there's a couple things you can do. You can say, hey, and then I like to use personalized. So you can use a number of things here. So you can use full name, first name, last name, whatever you want. So I always say, hey, first name, all right, comma. Thank you for subscribing to my email list. And then period. Thanks. And then Mike. Okay. And then you can generally keep this off to the left. And then you can space this out if you wish. Oops. Perfect. you want to space this out, you can hit enter and space these out. Make it look a little bit better. Buttons you can link to your website, or maybe you're selling something, so you can actually hit the shop now button. I'm just going to delete this for now. I always delete the branding from ActiveCampaign. And then we go. So down here, the unsubscribe, you can't really change this because you have to give the option for people to unsubscribe. You know, the send to, this is where your address, at the beginning when we set up our address is going to come down to the bottom. You obviously want to be compliant with all the emails that you're sending. Perfect. And then what you're going to want to do now is you can either hit next, or you can hit this nice little cog, this gear icon here. And then you can, hit your subject line. This pre-header text is going to be basically the first sentence you want them to see. So when you have your email up, you're going to see obviously the subject line. And then right after that, you're able to put the pre-header text. So be like, this is my first, or let's do something like, I wanted to thank you for subscribing. And then exclamation mark. So now you can actually send a test to yourself like this. Send anyways. Obviously, it's coming from myself. It's going to look like phishing and whatnot. We can open up this cog back again. Perfect. Enable mobile responsiveness. It does a spam check. You always want to double check that you're not saying things like free and, make money and all that kind of stuff. It just, ActiveCampaign has a very low tolerance for that kind of stuff. And then you're going to hit next. All right. So now once we got this all set up, there's a couple things that we can look at, right? First thing is we want to obviously track open and reading. If we wanted to see if people were replying, we could do that. Say, for example, in the email, you asked for people to reply to you. If you want to schedule this for like, say, tomorrow and it's in military time or 24-hour clock, you could say, 7 p.m. It's going to send, all right? And then you're just going to hit finish. And then that's going to schedule it. Okay, so then my first campaign is going to send tomorrow at 1700 or 1900, sorry, and you're good to go. It's one time. You could set these up to go weekly if you want to. Say, for example, you have, an email list of people that want, constant updates, then, there you go. All right, next on my list is automation. So the difference between campaigns and automations is something that happens automatically from a trigger. Now, a trigger could be anything like a tag being added, or it could be someone opens an email or someone clicks a link in an email. It could be a lot of things. So we'll get into this and show you. Whereas campaigns generally are something that you're going to be sending to a list, like a one-of thing, or like maybe a very simple recurring email that you're sending out every week with the same message, if that makes sense, right? Say, for example, you're reminding your suppliers to send you invoices because they suck at sending you invoices or things like that, right? So it's good for accountability. Let's head over to automations. All right, so we got nothing here yet. Now, don't be scared. It's really not this complicated. Obviously, you can get very intricate with this and you can do a lot of things. However, today we're just going to keep it easy. So they have a whole bunch of what they call recipes here, but I generally start from scratch. It's just easier. It doesn't confuse you as much. And I just like starting from the top and then working my way down to the bottom. We're going to hit continue. All right. So if anyone's actually used like Zapier or anything like that, you must understand that you need something that's going to start this automation, right? And then your action steps are going to be what follows, okay? So let's just start without a trigger. So from the beginning, okay, we're going to want to select something along the lines of maybe a tag being added. So we already have a few tags. So here is the grocery list of things that you can have happen, right? So if people subscribe to a particular list, if people submit a particular form, and we already created a form, this will probably be a good one. If people open and read an email, okay, if people click a link in an email, things like that. So let's just say subscribe to a list. Actually, let's go back. Let's do what I said. So let's say they submitted the form. Okay. And it's not any form. It is the website opt-ins. Okay. And then it's going to run, say, either once or multiple times. And what that means is every time they submit this form, they're going to run this campaign. If you just do it once, then that means they'll only receive the campaign once. Okay. So right now we're just going to hit once. And we're going to hit add a start. Cool. Now that we have the trigger selected, we are actually going to go in and select an action now. So the action always follows the trigger. And an action could be anything from a wait to sending an email to whatever it might be. So we're just going to obviously get into an email first, but let's do something tricky. Let's go to conditions and workflow, and we're going to wait. Okay. So maybe we want to wait for at least 1 hour, or maybe we want to wait for, 20 minutes before sending out this email. Okay. Boom, we have to wait for 20 minutes. And then we're going to come in here and we're actually going to sending options and we're going to hit send an email. Okay. It says you don't have any emails. You need to create an email to get started. So let's call this email one. And then in brackets or dash, I always like to put immediate, after 20 minutes. Okay. We're going to hit create. Now the waits could be whatever reason you want to have them wait. Generally, beginning, I always put a 1 minute delay just to make sure everything kind of catches up and we don't get too many glitches. You can go past campaigns, right? So you can select an email you've done in the past, which is really convenient because if you have all the branding set up, when you select it, you just have to fill out the basic things like the email subjects, but everything else will be hooked up from kind of like what you already set up before. socialnamesolutions.com. And I'm just going to do something boring, email one as a subject line. You obviously wouldn't do that yourself, but just to quickly go through this, we already set this email up. Let's just say save and exit. Okay, so we're going to hit save. So now what's going to happen is when someone submit that form, they're going to be held into here for 20 minutes, and then they're going to get this email. Okay. And then say, for example, you want to hit them every single day, right? So let's just say wait. Okay. And then we can say, oops, my bad. We're going to wait. Specific time, 1 day, hit save. And then we're going to send another email, for example. Okay. And then right now you'd have to create another email, but right now I'm just sending the exact same email just for testing purposes. Cool. So there's other little tiny things that you can do in here too, right? So conditions and workflow. So you can split the traffic, right? So you can go two different ways and say you want to split them in half and see what kind of email gets the better response rate. Maybe you want to separate them by time zones, things like that. So you could do a lot of things. Say, for example, you want to wait and then you say, if, let's just say split, conditional split, right? And that's actually really complicated, so we don't really need to get into it, but we could wait or we could select, if they have a specific tag. So the contact details, we could say, exists, like say realtors does not exist, right? Then we can hit add. Okay. So then we can now say, does the contact match the following? Contact does not have tag realtors. So if it does not have tag realtors, let's send them this email, right? But if contact does not have tag realtors, send them this email. But if they do, right, let's send them this email. Okay. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do in here, and obviously segment the list so you can have pretty good automation, and you really never have to really come back and do this. They're automatically going to be going through this, right? You can even say that instead you would end or say, for example, if they contact does not have tag realtor, and it was said, no, it does not have the tag realtor, you could go to different automation, like end this automation or start another automation. So there's a lot of cool things you can do here. So perfect. I think that is it. I think that's the majority of it, other than naming this like, my first automation, hitting save, and then obviously turning this on, right? And we can go through and we can actually submit. Boom, right? Let's just take a look and see if we get a queue here, and that would be me. So let's just refresh this. All right, so we're good. I'm going to turn this off, back on. And so a lot of times what you can do, website opt-in, multiple times, start there. You can also add a new trigger. So that way, if multiple things happen, so there's a couple things that happen, right? Tag is added and they subscribe to that thing. So we can do like realtors, right? And add start. You can do multiple triggers to start it, if that makes sense, right? So let's just add this in. Let's hit submit again.
2 hours later.
Oh, I know what it is. So the problem with why it was not working is because I have too many contacts. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete a lot of these people. Okay, we have 93 and we're only allowed 100, right? So let's go back to this. Let's resubmit this. Let's hit submit. Perfect. Let's go back to automations. Okay. Okay, let's head to my first automation.
One eternity later.
Okay, and here we are. So we did a couple tests, and now we have 2 people in the queue. So you can take a look, or just 1 person, sorry. All right, and they're going to be waiting here for 20 minutes before they get their first email. So that's a breakdown on ActiveCampaign, why it's so beneficial with these automations, the campaigns, the forms, everything you can embed on your website and your ClickFunnels, wherever you're going to be embedding your forms in order to collect your email addresses, and then the ability to whip in here, duplicate a campaign, and send an email within seconds. It's just a massively beneficial, super easy, takes seconds to get going once you have templates ready. And then these automations are very robust and very accurate. So anyways, again, thank you. If you got value, please subscribe. It helps me know the content I'm putting out there is, valuable and people are liking it. Also, hit a like button and also comment down below on what you'd like to see, automations that you're maybe missing, things that you've done in the past that, took you a while to figure out that other people would benefit from. So anyways, everyone have a great day.